Good morning, everybody. Good morning to our friends in America. Buon pomeriggio agli amici in Italia. For those who don't know me, my name is Maurizio Gamberucci. I am Deputy Director of the Italy America Chamber of Commerce South Central. We're active in Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. Today is a wine day. We are eager to discuss current wine trends in the US with two of the most important wine buyers in Houston, Jaime De Leon with Kroger and Tom Dobson with Specs. Thank you guys for being here today.
Thank you.
I also would like to thank Jaime Parzen for being the moderator for our third episode of our webinar series, Challenges and Opportunities in the Post-Pandemic Era, and the Regione Calabria also for the support. Thank you all for attending the third webinar again. A recording will be available on our website shortly. We're also live on Facebook. So right after this webinar ends, the video live on Facebook will be available at the same time. If you have any questions or comments, please use the Q&A option at the bottom of the screen. And without any further ado, I'll leave the floor to Jaime Parzen. You guys enjoy the conversation.
Thank you, Maurizio, and thank you everybody for being here. This experience has been so rewarding. This is what, our third webinar, and the response has been amazing, and it's great to have all you guys here. Wouldn't happen if you guys didn't participate. So thank you so much. Thank you to the Chamber for putting this together, and thank you to Regione Calabria for making it possible. We're going to talk about Calabria a little bit at the end of this chat. We're going to try and keep everything brief, but we have two really exciting guests today. Jaime De Leon is the beverage director for, I believe, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, I think, for Kroger supermarket. But He's so much more than that. He is an Italian wine specialist. He's a master sommelier candidate. He is someone who developed Kroger's in-store wine bar program, which is something a totally unique thing that they're now spreading out through the Kroger system. He's a fantastic wine professional, and he pulls the trigger on a lot of Italian wine that comes through all the Krogers in those states. So we're going to talk to him in a minute. We're also going to talk right now to Tom Dobson, who is the Italian wine buyer for Specs. If you don't know Specs, then you must not be in the wine business. Specs, I think it's, what do you guys have, like something like 160 plus stores?
We're honestly, the joke is we never really know week to week. We're probably closer to about 190 to 200 at this point across Texas.
So there you go. The last time I checked, it was like 160, and that was a week ago. No, I'm kidding.
I was gonna say it must have been about a month ago. Yeah.
What I'm getting at here is we're talking to two of the top Italian wine buyers in the United States. Texas is a really big state. We're talking about a lot of radius here that these guys cover, a lot of Italian wine that they touch before it gets to consumers. And what I asked both of them to talk about today, and we're going to hear from Tom first, is the online, retail sales have exploded in the time of the pandemic because we've seen the shift away. Restaurants are closed. It didn't stop people. Everybody I know who works in retail is working their little butts off. Excuse my French. But it's true. I mean, when you talk to people who are working in retail, like Jaime, like Tom, these guys are busy. They're really busy because people still need wine, right? So I asked them to talk about two trends today. What's happening in Italian wine? What are people buying? What are people not buying? What are people interested in? And then I also asked them, to give us a little look behind the scenes in what's happening in terms of their relationships. The bottom line is, how do you get in front of these guys? What are their tips for what the appointments they're taking, the wines that they're tasting or looking at? And they're both going to address these issues with us. So we're really excited about it. I'm going to give, just for the sake of getting us going, I'm going to give the floor to Tom. And thank you, Tom, so much for being here.
Not at all. Thank you, guys. So just real quick, I want to let you guys know I've been with Spec for about 10 years now. However, I just took over the Italian category for the company about a year ago, and it has been a very interesting first year as a buyer. I'll be upfront with that one. But especially in the past 4 months, it's really changed a whole lot. It's a completely different market. I mean, I get emails constantly from distributors and suppliers, blah, blah, blah. I'd like to show this to you. And I mean, it was constant beforehand. I would say I am now getting 2 to 3 times as many emails just in the past 3 months. And that's on top of all of my other work emails. One thing that is fortunate for my side of the business and a little bit difficult for the producer side of the business is competition has exponentially grown. I mean, I have people that have been bringing in wine that were meant for BT by the glass placements in restaurants that are just trying to get it out there and get it sold. I have distributors that 99% of their business was restaurants coming out of the woodwork that I've never even talked to before, trying to get in front of me. If you do want to get in front, make a point. I get so many emails. One of the things is if I will glance at pricing, and if pricing is not even remotely close, I spend about 3 seconds on that email and I move on. That being said, wine trends haven't changed too much since everything. It's just grown a little bit more. I mean, we have 200 stores, everything from a 40,000, 50,000 square foot. I don't know what that is in meters squared. I apologize. Large stores with 10,000 different wines to small neighborhood stores that might carry 300 to 500 wines. We're still selling huge amounts of Pinot Grigio. I would say since the new year started, and especially with tariffs affecting France, Piedmont has kind of blown up. Nebbiolo is on fire. Especially, Barolo and Barbaresco, great, Gattinara, Valtellina, whatever, but essentially sub $25 Nebbiolo d'Alba that people can afford as a Tuesday night wine. I'm a young man. I'm 33 years old. I can't spend $60 every single night. I want to drink Nebbiolo. Sorry, I wish I could. But that's definitely trending. You do see with the internet, and especially in the past 5 years, I think you're seeing some of these smaller, lesser known regions get a little bit more notice. I put my foot in my mouth with something recently. There was some stuff from Doliani that I wanted to try and sell. And, in Texas, I'm not going to lie to you, Doliani is not the most common region. We're moving some Doliani. It's, I'm not saying we're moving containers, but we're actually selling some of that Dolcetto. So there are things like that where if salespeople get behind it, you can really see some interesting trends that you'd never think would happen. As well as, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Interesting. No, you make a couple of really interesting points. One is, we've talked about this in previous webinars, we forget that this is a great opportunity for Italian wine because French wine is still under the tariffs, and that happened right before so there was already this shift toward Italian wine. And the other point I think that's so important to bring home for Italian winemakers who are trying to get their wines in the market is if the pricing is not au courant, if it's not where it needs to be, you're not even going to look.
Yeah, I'm not going to haggle. Yeah, over something.
In our pregame for this, I think you, Tom, used the expression, it's a buyer's market right now.
It absolutely is.
I say this in every one of our webinars, the age of arrogance is over. And if you want to get into the market, you need to know, you can't come in and say, well, we can negotiate. No, you need to say, man, the guy right next to me, the woman right next to me is showing you wines that are heavily discounted from pre-pandemic pricing.
Yep.
Not even get in the door. Jaime, are you seeing what are, and thank you, Tom, for these.
No.
And by the way, I need that Doliani, that Dolcetto di Doliani. Thanks again for the Verdicchio. you know, one of the things we didn't address, and maybe Jaime, you can talk about this, is, for example, Tom sold me some Verdicchio di Metallica the other day that's I'd never seen in the market. I'm not finding some of the wines that I usually drink, so I'm more open to new. You know, I love Verdicchio di Metallica. I didn't know the producer. I've got a 6-pack of it right now. It's great wine. Jaime, are you know, what are your? Can you share your insights on what's happening with Italian
Yeah, well,
wine?
you know, to add on to what Tom was saying, I think e-commerce is on fire. Of course, I think as more and more people are more concerned with multiple trips to the grocery store as it used to be, I think now they're more trying to take all of their priorities in one swoop, less, I guess, fewer returns to the store. So there's a lot of concern. And I think with that, it's, yeah, you know, I'm going to go by and just get that bottle that I know. But I think there's still also people that are wanting to experiment. Now, with e-commerce blowing up like it is, you know, that's another trade channel that we need to pay more attention as it's new to us. And I don't think it's going away. So I think that, you know, one of the things that the advice that I have for suppliers, distributors, importers, and stuff like Tom said, you know, there's so many emails coming in, you know, and you don't have time to really, you know, dive into each one. So I would say that everyone, you have to stay connected, continue to follow up. You got to communicate. What are some opportunities that are there? Because we don't have time to take a look at everything. And then with business exploding, it's really tough. You're not bothering us. Please stay connected and follow up. But as you know, like, you know, Tom said, Pinot Grigio, all of those things, those staples are still taking off. But at the same time, as more and more people are cooking at home, there's more people drinking wine with their meals, which is great, because I think as the pandemic, as things start to reopen, I think people are going to be a little bit more adventurous, and they're going to be willing to explore some things. So I think that's a key also, as people like Tom, Psalms, as restaurants start to open. I think we kind of need to start taking a look at that, because we're going to get a chance again to kind of redefine the way people see these, you know, indigenous grapes or things that most people are not familiar with. And I think that's kind of where we play a big role.
Well, one of the things that we're seeing in the time of the pandemic, and thank you, Jaime, is that, you know, wineries, you know, previously wineries would say, oh, I'm an on-premise, I'm a restaurant brand, or I'm only like luxury hotel brand. But those people now are trying to break in to what in Italian we call the grande distribuzione, right? The big box. Both Tom and Jaime, right now the hottest category is supermarket, retail, and big, you know, essentially Specs. It's not just a wine shop. I mean, it's a big box. It's a huge, the pricing you're getting when you go in there. Are you guys seeing any, I mean, you talked about it, Il Tetto di Dogliani. Jaime, have you seen, what's something new and interesting that is popping up that in your chain?
I think one of the focuses, of course, that price point. And instead of like maybe Barolos in that higher price point, I think, you know, a good alternative is like, you know, you could still get some of that same type of wine, but maybe you just go down a tier, maybe just like a regular Langhe. There's really great producers out there that are making great wines. And I think people are still willing to spend as long as quality's there, but you just may have to trade down just a notch in classification. But yeah, there's great wines out there.
And here's a question, and then let me just ask one more question, Maurizio, and then maybe we can take a couple questions from our viewers today, the attendees. But I'm curious to know, what are you guys seeing? Are wineries with a good online presence getting more eyeballs? I mean, does that make a difference if you have a good social media program? I mean, are you seeing you want to take that one, Tom?
I was actually going to try and make a comment before we went to the Q&A that, you know, mentioning e-commerce and everything, which yes, Specs is Spec's literally just rolled out our own app. We're doing Drizzly and Start, all that stuff. But I'm 33 years old. I'm technically a millennial. Millennials love, and as annoying as it may sound for some of these producers, have an Instagram page. And not only have an Instagram page, but actually respond when people tag you. If you're a small winery, I know it's a full-time job maintaining social media, but I feel like my generation really wants to have that interaction. They don't necessarily need it face-to-face, but they want, if someone's drinking your wine and they tag you in it on Instagram, just, hey, thanks for drinking it. Where are you from? Blah, blah, blah. Awesome to see my wine in Texas, blah, blah, blah. I think that does really help some of these smaller wineries, especially if, hey, I'm the winemaker. Thanks for drinking my wine. That's awesome. Great. So,
I know, just to speak to your point, I see this anecdotally. I see this all the time. Someone discovers a new wine. They get really excited about it. They post a picture on Instagram. They tag the winery, and then they expect, at least a like or something on that picture to acknowledge. And when they don't get it, it's like your lover just broke up with you. I mean, it creates this disappointment that you just got ghosted by your lover.
And if you guys don't want to do it and you've got teenage kids, make them do it.
Yeah, well, or ask the Italy America Chamber of Commerce to do it. We can help with that, by the way. But it's so important to be engaged. And there's so many people, like I said, I've seen people say, wow, I just love this wine. I tagged the winemaker, and then they didn't say anything about it. And that was an opportunity missed. I love what you just said. Just respond. Say, thanks for drinking my wine. Put a like on it. Maurizio, do you have any questions from the floor that you'd like to share?
I have a couple. Let's see if I can summarize this way. People are asking, how can they actually stand out to your attention? Is for instance, sending samples still an option?
Jaime, do you want to take that one?
Yes, that definitely is, and maybe working also with the Italian Chamber as in the past with Mauricio's been very generous and also open to the fact that with Jeremy sitting down, tasting the samples, maybe bring in a panel to kind of help you guys, because I know it's tough. I mean, small producers, look, get it. It's a retail world right now, and it's all about the big guys right now. They have the floor, they have the distribution, and what about those other guys? Like Tom said, Instagram, social media, YouTube, whatever you can, and then also rely on the Italian Chamber, rely on Jeremy, on Tom. I mean, we could all give you some feedback, and yes, of course, we're all open for that. I guess you can't limit or put a cap on resources, and I think Jeremy, the Italian Chamber, is a great resource to start with.
Jaime, and this is a question for both of you guys. Are you tasting with reps right now, or are you taking appointments, or are people sending you wine, but you're not tasting with reps, or do you do a Zoom call with a rep? I mean, what's going on with that?
Yeah, right now it's over the phone or Zoom. But if they're willing to send some samples, yes, we're tasting them on our own, making our own notes, and then following up. But I want to express, please, you got to stay communicated. Don't send one email and then think it's one and done. I mean, we're flying through these emails and we want to be followed up. I mean, because no one wants to miss an opportunity. So don't think you're bothering. And that's why I'm just, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but please keep following up.
I mean, that's pretty much the same thing. Like at Specs, we're not allowing any face-to-face tastings or anything like that. That being said, there's a lot of opportunity out there for us on the buyer side of things. So yeah, I don't know how. Apparently, some certain suppliers have gotten my home address, and I just have things. Right. Please don't do that without letting me know beforehand. But no, I've actually had multiple Zoom tastings with winemakers and things that are interesting. I honestly think what's happening now may long term be good for the business. I mean, you know, we can sit here and communicate with, I don't know, like 50 different people in Italy right now. And yeah, the time change sucks, but no, I'm more than willing to sit down, and I had some Zoom tastings with certain winemakers. I'm also the French wine buyer, so I'm going through Burgundy right now with certain Burgundian producers on Zoom because they're releasing vintages and whatnot. I'm all for it, and sometimes honestly, it's easier for me.
Well, the bottom line is there is a lot of opportunity out there, but you need to, as we say in English, dot your I's and cross your T's and be competitive, be communicative. I love what you said, Jaime, about don't think that if you just send me an email, I'm going to drop everything. You need to communicate with me. You need to, I've seen, like you guys, I get pitched all the time for people who want to be featured on my blog. And it starts with in 1120, the winery was founded in the medieval village. I'm like, what's the wine? What's the price? Like, I need to go. I don't have time. And I think I see you guys nodding, saying, hey, Maurizio, we have time for one more question, then we'll wrap things up. So we want to make sure that we can get a video up of this. What do you got for me, Maurizio?
I have several. Let's try to summarize again. One is asking how important are awards for you guys to consider a wine better than another. And we have a kind of a request from Roberto. He's saying, okay, guys, we'll try to help you with lowering the price, but can you also help us moving the wine or making fast decisions and help us to move the wine as much as we can?
Jaime, you want to take that one, and then we'll shift to Tom?
Ratings still play a part of that. Of course, with the more social media platforms, I think everyone's a critic now in today's world. So I think they still play a role, but I think right now, price point is key right now. I don't think people they're more open to try a Negro model if it's $10 to $12, because that sweet spot is still $10 to $15. So if you want to have, I guess, a higher, a sell-through or success rate, you got to stay within that price point right now, because that's kind of where my target is right now.
It's really important to note that in the times of today, there is no bad wine. No one's making bad. We know the wine's good. It really comes down to what are you willing to do in terms of price, and what are you doing to be connected on social media. You want to comment on that, Tom, and then we're going to wrap it up. You're on mute, Tom.
Thank you. Scores are still very important. As much as it drives me insane, there's a huge number of people that when they walk into a grocery store or wine shop, they don't want to talk to anyone. I completely get it. If they have a job that is talking to people all day, they want to go in, read something on a little piece of paper, and that score is definitely going to help. I always make the joke, don't send me a score from Australian Cheeseburgers Anonymous Wine Critic or something like that. It needs to be from a legitimate publication. It is very much a factor still. I read an article in Spectator, Decanter, or something like that, talking about how we live in a bubble, and we really do. I mean, we live in a wine bubble, and we have to realize that 99% of wine drinkers don't drink wine like us, and you have to touch on them. That being said, as well as the second kind of note that Maurizio mentioned, decisions need to be made faster and everything. Yes, they do, but at the same time, and I'll just say with a company as large as Specs, and Jaime, please correct me if I'm wrong, but with a company as large as Kroger, things do not always go fast, period. I mean, there's a lot of different things working as well. Like not just Italian one. I also handle almost all of France as well. So I have two very large countries that I'm managing, essentially.
Yeah. Well, and just to add to that point of what Tom just said, a lot of roles are morphing, and responsibilities are being added. It's, you're just not, you're just not looking at the Veneto region, 50 hours a week. There's other things that take, you got to consider. So, just wanted to add that on with Tom.